Hello everybody and welcome to Adobe Live. We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we are streaming from, and we'd also like to pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. My name's Flynn, I'm hosting today and I'm here with fantastic Kristy Campbell, Director of Pink Pony Creative. Hi Kristy, how are you?
Hello Flynn, I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It was fun reminiscing. The last time that we saw each other was live in LA for Adobe Live, which was super cool.
I know, I can't believe it's been that long already.
It
was like 6 months ago.
100,000 years ago, but yeah, it was only 6 months ago. But it's great to have you here on Adobe Live APAC. We have two great shows coming, so we're live today and tomorrow with Kristy. So if you've got any questions, throw them in chat. Let us know how we're going. We are live, so yeah, Behance chat is great. YouTube chat as well. We'll try to keep an eye on that one too. But yeah, let us know what's going on. Gareth in chat says, hi Kristy. That's nice.
Hello, it's lovely to have you here, Gareth. Hopefully you enjoyed this live.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure lots of people know who you are. You are on the internet, but pretty easy to find. But in case there are some people here who aren't familiar with who you are and what you do, could you give us a quick little intro before we jump into what we're doing today?
Yeah, sure. So I am Kristy Campbell, the founder of Pink Pony Creative. I've had the business for about 3 years now, and I've grown it into a little team, which is amazing. So I kind of started everything out through a 100-day design challenge, and it's morphed into what you can see today, which is awesome. So I've had the pleasure to show a few lives. I went to Adobe Max last year and spoke, which was an incredible opportunity, and I'm so grateful for these. But hopefully you guys can learn something from me today. It'll be awesome.
Awesome. That's great. I'm just going to share your screen across as well. So this is your Instagram, obviously. So, if you're not already following, you can go and check it out. Is there any particular project you kind of wanted to point out before we started out?
Yeah, so I mean, the style that at Pink Pony Creative is very much bold and bright and daring. So this is sort of my more personal brand page, and then we have our agency page here as well, in which you can see all of our work that me and our designers work on. But as I said, yeah, it's very bold, bright. I wouldn't say as corporate as our main style of design, but we certainly have done it in the past. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly more on the fun, bubbly side for sure. And we create everything from branding to, for this example here, it was a dog grooming, a pet grooming space. And then we've got things like the fitness industry, beauty, a whole range of stuff. So no, I'm really proud of the little baby that I've grown, and yeah, excited to show you some of my tips and tricks to branding.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, great. Let's segue straight into that. What we're up to today and tomorrow, and you can just kind of kick us off.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I thought I would showcase a style of design that I'm definitely kind of known for, which, as I said before, is that really bold, daring look. And I wanted to create this quirky branding for a made-up concept of Mr. Maple, I've called it, which is a family-friendly Waffle House located in LA. And the client would like branding that is Instagrammable, and they'd like to become world famous for their delicious, and I spelt that so wrong, but that's cool, waffles and fun-loving space.
No, the client spelled that incorrectly. That was the client.
You're right. Yeah, I just copied and pasted this from the client, so thank you for that, client. And I've done a little bit of the brief here for just today's project. It's a really small brief. We're just after something playful, fun-loving, quirky, and casual. And I loved this mood board that I put together, and I wanted to showcase this style of some kind of mascot brand mark to use throughout the branding. I'm kind of obsessed with this style of branding. I love little mascots. The illustrative style is really fun, and it kind of showcases a different way you can pull a lot of character and personality into a brand. So you can see here the mood board. It wasn't necessarily about the colors, but I loved these illustrations and this style of kind of almost like a mix between script, calligraphy, handwritten style font I really liked, and just like the bold, chunky typography there as well. So I thought we'd come across and start with some font choices. Now, I've pre-selected these because this can obviously take a long time. So I've decided to do this as a pre-selection. I've just gone through and I've chosen a couple of fonts that I thought were quite nice. And I think this is a really important step to nut out a whole lot of fonts that you feel could work for the brand. Now, in this case, I always like to showcase even some that I'm, could work, but I'm not sure about. And then some that I'm like, oh, this could be a really, really good option. Usually I do a lot more than this as well. We dive right into font choices and styling to find the best solution. But for this design in particular, I actually really liked the style of this font here.
So I wasn't
necessarily a fan of the M. The M was almost like overcomplicating the whole thing.
Right.
But I did love the script style looking at this portion of the word here. It was kind of a mix between this and even up here. Quite like this little style. He was quite nice as well.
Is that the title case, the M? So that's a capital M in Maple. Is that what's happening? Yeah.
So I'll bring this down, and we'll actually come down to more of a working document. So you can bring this here. Something really nice with fonts when you purchase them as well. They often come with like open. It's called open type. So you can change the figuration, I guess, of a certain letter form within that type. Now, not all fonts have this, but a lot of them do. If you're not paying for your fonts, people, they probably won't have this.
Yeah, those free fonts that come out and there's only kind of one weight can really get in the way, like down the track, especially if you're building a brand.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at these fonts, I'm going to make a duplicate of that. We can come down, select the fonts themselves, and open up the open type. Now, typically they will, there you go, there's one there, bam. So extreme. I mean, not that this would be a suitable logo. Hey, could do in some situations, but it just shows the options for the letter forms there as well. So I'm going to actually go back and potentially try a couple of others. So this one has quite a few options, which I really like. But I almost want a set that doesn't, I just want that M in a more simple form, which means we could actually just use a lowercase m and try that and see what that comes to. So let's give this a go. Yeah, see, I'm already liking this M a lot more than the more detailed M. Yes, it's lowercase.
Yeah, it's almost like a full departure from the typeface, that first one. It seems almost like its own typeface entire style.
Yeah, it really is. And the cool thing about the open type, if you aren't super familiar with it, is that you could go through all these different styles and looks for your letter forms, and maybe you could pick out one or two that you quite like. So just say that we did quite like this M, we could pull them into there, and then maybe we really liked the E that you can see here. So you could actually pull that E and place it into there too, making like a kind of a normal looking logo rather than this crazy aesthetic looking thing.
That's cool. So it doesn't like you can copy the style from anything and put it within the same and keep it as typography. You wouldn't have to like create outlines and then just make them shapes from there. You can actually copy and paste it in.
Yeah, totally. So it's a nice way to like keep it editable without making massive changes to it. But I'm really feeling this option. Now, I will preface this that I've pre-designed this whole thing, so I kind of know where I'm going with it. It's always better to plan and be prepared with whatever you do.
Well, that's it. I mean, as you said, you probably spent as much as time we have on the stream today just going through fonts, right? So I love the balance of Maple, like how the ascender and the descender are like that's it, and then everything else is just this nice. It's very neat, very cool.
It is a really nice, neat font, and I feel like I like this lowercase m, but I do want it to stand out more than what you'd see here to give it like an uppercase feeling. So I'm actually going to go ahead and make that an outline. We're just going to go through and we'll start off with this section, just the Maple itself. We'll ungroup that. I would love to know if someone on a live has ever just gone into the live not knowing anything, not knowing what they're going to create. They're just winging it. Has anyone done that?
Yeah, we do those streams. Yep, we do those streams. So we've done some streams where it's like audience participation. Usually it's illustrators. It tends to lend itself a little bit better. Where they can sort of come in and, it might be, suggestions from chat. We've had people submit their pets and had them drawn, which was quite cool, doing that live.
That's
had
cool.
some folks with like kind of nothing more than a title, like a theme. But yeah, thinking back on it, I don't know, Johanna, keep me honest here. But thinking back on it, I think it is mostly illustrators that we've done that type of stream because it's very difficult to say, okay, design, go, fill an hour, make it entertaining.
Exactly.
Do it all live without having to Google things or I don't know. There's a lot of kind of important steps that are maybe less glamorous, that people tend to want to leave out. Yeah.
I agree, actually. I mean, we could totally spend an hour on an Adobe Live looking for fonts, but that's not going to be very interesting. So,
speaking of fonts, question from chat: where do you usually get your fonts from?
Oh, good question. I love to find Google Fonts is great for free fonts. So these fonts are like my go-to for like body copy. There's always a really good one. So yeah, Google Fonts, and then Creative Market as well is amazing, and also My Fonts. There's a couple of other ones too, like FontShare is a open source font website, which is epic. It's kind of like a hidden gem. Love that website. So if you haven't gone and had a look at FontShare, give it a go. It's worth it.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Little tip for you Tuesday or Monday, wherever you're watching this.
Wherever you are. Yeah, it's like Monday evening for our US friends, and Tuesday, 1 o'clock. What's the time in New Zealand? It
is 3:15. It looks like I'm sitting in the dark, but I'm not. I've got the window, everything closed because the lighting tends to be a little bit better. Cool. So I mean, typically with like brand identity as well, there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. For this style of font, the like logo and the mascot that we'll work on soon, it's definitely more about the quirky character style that I'm really going for. We could be creating an icon that was very, had a lot of meaning in terms of depth. Maybe there's a story behind it, but for the icon and brand mark that I'm going to go for, which I'm not doing yet, we're certainly just going for a mascot style that adds to that quirky kind of character,
right?
Which is awesome.
So you tend to make that decision early on before you're designing if there's going to be if it's mascot style or if it's I'm using air quotes like just the type.
For sure. It's definitely early on, like in the discovery and the creative direction stage as well, and we'll pitch those ideas to the client. Whether they are quite keen on those, a mascot over a monogram, for example. We'll certainly give them our professional opinion. You wouldn't be doing potentially, maybe actually, I take that back. You wouldn't necessarily be doing a quirky mascot for a super high-end luxury brand. You'd probably head down more of a direction of something like a monogram or that style of design. So I'm just sort of adjusting the M here to get some kind of uniformity. Is that a good word? Is that the right word?
I know what you mean.
Yeah. By still making it like look like a capital M without it being over the top. And I still want to keep it balanced as well. So we're getting there. We're looking tidy.
And so balance, you're thinking about the negative space and the distance of the letters, so like the thickness of the kind of digital brush strokes and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. And especially looking at that M, you might have noticed before, I was adjusting like the width of these sections of the M, and I wanted it almost felt like they were too big and fat for the rest of the typography. So I wanted to keep that uniformity throughout it, because I think that attention to detail can make a big difference to your work. So I'm thinking something that I do with my brand projects is typically I do like a brainstorm of words. It might not be many words. It could just be like a couple of words that associate to that brand or that company. So in this case, I was thinking Mr. Maple, Waffle House. We've got our waffles, we've got our maple syrup dripping, and I wanted to pull that like look through the design itself. So I've thought, how can we incorporate that into the logo? And I loved the idea of pulling a drip down through the letter forms somehow. I mean, the letter forms themselves do sort of look like a syrupy style anyway, so we can improve on that and add something else. So let's have a play, and I'll add some drips on this side using the pencil tool. So I love this tool. It is just awesome because you can manipulate and create vectors that are previously there, but we can go in and just use it to our own advantage. So I'm not sure about the M. I think maybe the M is going to look a bit wobbly here.
Is there anything particular you have to do other than select the pencil tool and draw over that graphic to add to the shape like you are?
No, not necessarily. Sometimes I do find that if you're selecting your vector and just say, I'll just make sure that if you sort of don't align your starting point and your ending point, sometimes it'll go a little bit skewed. So it really depends. But in this case, I keep getting it actually at a right.
Yeah, it's like totally.
Yeah. It's going well. So yeah, it really depends. So if you're finding that for some reason there's a little bit of like it creates a really odd shape and it doesn't join, just making sure those starting and ending points are pretty much aligning with your old vector. Something that's really cool about this tool as well, if you double click, we can actually change the fidelity, I think it's called, which creates either a really accurate pen line or a really smooth pen line. And in this case, I want it to be smooth because I want that really smooth effect. But if I made it a bit more accurate, it'll probably be a little bit more shaky than say what my other smooth line is. So I only found out about this not even that long ago. It's crazy because I've been designing for a while.
Totally. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I do that all the time. We'll be doing stuff on live and I'm like, well, I didn't know you could do that.
You're like, oh, there it is. I feel like as designers, there's always just so much to learn.
Yeah, always.
Try the E. I actually think I prefer the look of it on the E. For some reason, it sort of has a little bit more balance. This is almost too italic on that side to be dripping down, which is sort of why I'm leaning towards this side. I don't know whether we add in an additional drip. Where are we going? Here we go. Just to give it an extra drippy effect.
That's good.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, just say I'm quite happy with that. It definitely could do with some work on the drip there, but as I said, we don't have all day. But if we did, we could go forever perfecting the drip. But I'll show you the end result closer to the end of the live. We'll try one more time, give it a little go. No, I still think the first one's better. Cool. Something that I do as well is use the smooth tool a lot. I love this tool just because it obviously smooths out edges. You could even see in here the P isn't as smooth as I'd potentially like it to be, whether that's in the font, but I just go through and you just smooth that out and it just really defines the curves, which is a nice addition. Like even here, and these are all the details that are really important. You can see that the letter form, there's a kind of that little kink when it gets to the E. So typically I would actually join those together and just smooth that out because we want those like really fluid points. Well, fluid points, that didn't make sense. Fluid curves.
Yeah. Fluid curves from the points.
Yeah, exactly. I think when we're on live, I say some random things because I'm trying to design and then my brain's disconnecting.
Yeah, it's like translating yourself. Like your brain's doing stuff and then you have to translate like what you're doing as you're going. It's
exactly. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the way this is shaping up. It's definitely not final, but typically with logo families, we would certainly have our primary, secondary, and our brand mark, and in this case, it's going to be a mascot. So we could actually make this an easy secondary logo where we're using the Mr. at the start of the logo here, purely for the reason we want to think about all the situations and different positions the brand is going to be seen in. So in this example, there would certainly be a website that we would be doing and creating for Mr. Maple. So I'd want to make sure that our logo can look really good in the navigation, and fit nicely within the navigation there. I actually like it being a little bit smaller still. So we'll keep that. It's looking pretty good. All right. We're already 20 minutes in. Where does the time go?
I know. It goes quick.
It goes quick.
When we're live. And our friend James Barnard in chat has said, looking good, Kristy. Sorry, I was on a lunch break. So how dare you take a break and eat lunch?
How dare you, James? So yeah, we've created our logo. We're pretty happy with it. I want to start to put together our mascot. And in this case, I've actually pre-drawn the stuff as well. And I've imported in the phone tool with scanning the documents on the Notes app is perfect for this. It does a great job. So I really wanted to pull that idea of like the waffles through into some kind of face, like personality. So I thought the waffle itself could actually be his head. And when I sketched it out, I wasn't exactly sure on what kind of face I would use, whether it would be quite fun, more realistic, a little bit more downplayed, or maybe it's just big eyes. So I've drawn a few options that I could kind of swap out when I'm happy with my design. So we'll start out by actually just illustrating this. So something that I always do and make sure is separating the layers, basically. So we've got our sketch layer and our artwork layer, and just making sure that our sketch layer is on lock so I can't touch that. So we're actually going to use the brush tool for this one.
Just before we jump onto that, I mean, you can keep going, but I got another question.
Go for it.
As we're talking about sketching and kind of concepting, I have a question here in chat. Is this concept something that you would have sketched out on paper to get that organic feel, or are you ride or die computer user?
I swap depending on the project, and it really depends on the look that I'm going for. So with this, I wanted it to be quite like hand-drawn, a bit like bubbly and personable. So I decided to sketch it out. But if I was going to go for something a little bit more straight edge, I might jump straight into the computer and do it that way. Yeah, so it really depends on the project. But for things like this too, where it is there's a character to it, it's got its own style, I decided to sketch it out in this case.
Cool.
So the thing I like about these too is with the vectors, even though you've sketched it, we can certainly make it and perfect it to whatever we want it to be within Illustrator, which is the best, because we can draw, but not like the best in the world. So it's good to be able to refine it.
So you tend to draw to kind of get the ideas down and some kind of basic shapes of what you're thinking, but you're not trying to make it high fidelity. You're trying to kind of just get it down to a certain point that you're happy, almost talking to your computer's future self, right? You're like, it's going to be like this, something like this, and then I'm going to get into the computer, and then it might move around a little bit. It's not like going to be exactly like this.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's the one. So that's key when thinking about it too. You can, like this example, even though I haven't drawn his face on him, I can swap out facial expressions depending on the final result that I want to actually go with, which is key. So I'm going to actually go ahead and draw these maple drips, which are intended on being his hair, which is a cute little addition.
Yeah, I like that. Very cool.
So making him look pretty drippy. And again, they're sort of sketched out, so they're not final. You can make small adjustments and change them as you go to suit. Drips are always sort of hard to draw. A little trick too, if you're wanting to join 2 points, I just simply click Command J and bam, it's joined.
Oh, okay, there you go. That's something I didn't know about Illustrator.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
We need a count, like in the corner. If this was Twitch, there'd be a count in the corner every time my eyebrows raise. Like, I should know that. Oh,
I love it. Do you know what the one trick that I find not many people know? Is the one about the guidelines, that you can turn anything into a guideline. Oh, I'm just trying to take a screenshot.
I did know that one. Anything that's been around for a while, I tend to. But yeah, but it's a great trick. That's the way that people used to do isometric drawings in Illustrator back in the day. You could do the repeat pattern, like do a point here and add like 400, whatever, 40, and then duplicate it and then stretch it down and then do the perspective and then turn them into guides and then lock it. And that used to be, that's the only reason I know about it though. Just these amazing things that people come up with.
It's incredible. Yeah, and we use it a lot in packaging, and I taught my staff, that little trick as well, and they use it all the time too. So it's very handy when you're like aligning things in Illustrator, and it's great. I'm not sure about the hat, but we shall see, because everything's editable.
Yeah,
we can shift everything, move it around.
Speaking of which, how do you find training with staff? Because when you started out, it was just you, and you just sort of mentioned teaching the staff because you obviously know a lot about ins and outs of the programs. Do you like dedicate a certain amount of time to be like, cool, I'm going to show you this latest new thing, or is it more organically working together and kind of, I don't know, what's your approach to it?
Yeah, well, this is a good question. I'm just trying to chop these little ends off, and for some reason.
And if I'm interrupting you too much with questions,
no, it's great.
Sorry.
Well, certainly, we actually used to do this thing, and it's been a little bit hard recently because we just get so busy. Where we did Chalk Talk, and we did it once a month, and we'll just do some trainings and kind of just teach them new skills, new techniques. We've even done like an email marketing one. We've done a print. How to set up your files properly for print. I've brought in some other people who are, really experts in those fields to teach us, which has been really, really key. And yeah, that's just really helped us all, learn new tools, and also them as well, learn the new tools. And it's a great way to learn. But I think, they sit right beside me. So throughout the day, we're always chatting and like talking about how to do this. If they've got a question, totally open to, helping them and teaching them new things.
Cool.
Right, I'm gonna leave that one there just for now, and I'm gonna actually go and draw his little feet and his hands, which is adorable. I mean, they're more like cube shaped. I wanted to like push on with that cube shape look. I'm actually gonna reflect this one because of his waffle head. He's got that square looking head. So I wanted to continue that idea as well.
You mean continue that like through to the appendages. So his feet's going to be blocky. Blocky. Cool.
Totally. And I think that as well is a really key thing when thinking about like design and branding is the uniformity of everything. Making like all those little details can really help. If your typeface has certain serifs at certain points or lettering, make sure you roll that out within the rest of the logo form as well. I've actually just duplicated the body there so I can get these sizes exact. All right, I'm going to go ahead and actually make his feet. That's my favorite little shortcut too.
What was that shortcut?
It was, oh my gosh, I'm not going to know the name of the key.
It's okay.
It's the back. It's like the back bracket that's square.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you can make your tool bigger or smaller depending on what size.
So good.
Yeah, very handy. We love.
There was a question in chat. See, Kristy uses dotted paper. Do you find this helps with your sketches?
Well, what's funny? I actually drew this in the office yesterday, and I couldn't find any other paper. And Ruby, one of my designers, had this book, the sketchbook, so I just used that. But actually, for this purpose of this project, because I wanted that square shape, it really did help because I mapped, that square out. I was able to use that square repetitively, so it's a really nice way to sketch. But I think it does really help, to be honest, just to perfect your sizes of things. I'm gonna try and make him, this guy's little feet. we're looking pretty good. He looks pretty cute already. Not that he has a face. He's faceless, but that's fine.
Faceless but cute. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to group that, and actually might even make it a little bit taller. And I'm just going to duplicate that, and we shall put it on the other side. Just to make him kind of symmetrical. I like the idea of actually just chopping those off here. Cool. I quite like the limbs. I think the limbs are cute. But I think because of the way he's sitting here, it's actually more front on rather than this angle here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to use this guy, but use his feet. I'm going to do a bit of, going to copy that. I'm going to come up. I'm just going to get rid of the sketch for a minute. Something that I always do as well is making sure I keep copies of like all of my pieces of work. So if I'm making any major change to a logo, to an illustration, I'll keep that original version and I'll just duplicate it across.
Right.
So that I can easily go back and, if I decide I don't like it or if it's not really working for me, I can go back and change that. So this is looking, we're getting there. I think I'm going to decide to do more front on rather than the 2D. 2D, well, not 2D, that's a 3D look. Yeah, we're just going to modify this little drip here. Cool. All right. I think, this is looking all right. We're getting there. I'm going to do some modifying now and start to just really map out the proper illustration, get rid of all these lines, clean it up a little bit. And then I'll go into some more detailed bits of the brand mark. Oh, did the music just stop? I was like, oh, we've lost the tunes.
I changed the song because a song snuck in with some singing in the background. And
we can't have that.
No, Johanna will write in all caps in Slack, like, just go, what is this song?
Oh no!
I quickly beat it to it. So yeah, it was a quick little skip. Yeah, it's quite distracting, perfect. Like to have me talking like over the top of you, and then also someone rapping in the background. It doesn't help.
Oh, it's all right. Okay,
just trying to keep you on your toes.
Exactly. Make it interesting. So I'm kind of like liking where this is going. I'm not sure about his little feeties here. They could probably do with some work. All right. We're getting there. Like, I think this is looking somewhat what I had envisioned in my head. And you can see his little waffle square shape. He's got his little drips coming down, his maple syrup, because at the end of the day, he is Mr. Maple. His legs are almost probably too close together, to be honest. All right, actually, let's go ahead and give him some eyes. So I'm going to come back into our sketches here, and let's go with these simple ones because I'd love to show you some details about how I like really refine a character like this and kind of make it look amazing, and doing these certain key steps can help. So let's come to that. I'm just gonna, you know what? Let's just duplicate this. Easy. Boom. Makes little eyes. This creepy little eyes we love. Let's go ahead and...
The types of eyes make such a big difference. We have that so often with illustrators kind of on the stream. They'll slightly change the eye, and then even if you zoom out, it just makes such a huge difference.
It does. It can make a massive difference. So being able to kind of trial a few different eye types, whether it's like shaded like this, or maybe it is simply, we'll change it up here, simply like that. Those eyes can really impact the way something looks. So I think let's try these lines. Whoa, look at him. He's a cutie. All right. Yeah, getting there. I think his legs look a bit funny, but that's cool. Whoa. Something that I always like to tell my staff as well is that, pulling together ideas that you're even unsure of is actually really beneficial, because even if you're creating and designing and then you've got all these options, you can review those, look at what works, what doesn't, and really figure that out.
So as opposed to like hesitating and not putting something down because you're not sure it's kind of going to be perfect, the idea is get it out, get it done, and move on and keep kind of creating.
Yeah, totally. And even how I'm doing these little changes here, again, I'm duplicating that original sketch and then adding on to then be able to like look back on everything and see what works, see what doesn't. But I guess like creating logos, you can do that in a similar way too. So I actually want to make I'm going to try making the maple syrup black or a dark color. You know what he's kind of giving? He's giving Frankenstein.
Oh, with the flat top? Yeah, a little bit. I wasn't seeing that before. Yeah, started off as SpongeBob.
Now I've put it in your head and now we won't be able to unsee it.
Yeah.
But that's cool, Okay. And maybe in the developments of this brand, we could certainly look at that and how we can like make him look not so Frankenstein potentially and pull in more of that waffle look. I wonder, should we give him a nose? Right, but let's go into some of like refining some of the details on a character like this, because at the moment he looks okay, but we can certainly do things that'll make a massive difference to the way that he looks. So something that I like to do is play around with the width of the line work that I'm using with. So let's actually just make sure those are all the same and we'll bump it up just slightly. Maybe we need to make it a little, oh, there we go. Wasn't working for me for a second then. I think maybe it's a bit too thick. Cool.
Do you find that it's almost always, I was going to say until you made it a bit smaller, do you find that it always looks a bit better when you make it a bit thicker? Like you kind of have forgiven a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. And this next tool, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen, can make a big difference to this as well. So this is the width tool. So taking your line work and actually adding details. And you can do this in any way. You can do it with your logos, you could do it with your characters, you could do so many different ways to use this. So we'll go width tool, but the one thing we do have to watch is that we've got to put him on a basic shape to actually get to work.
So if it's on a different type of brush, it won't work, the width tool.
Yeah, well that's what I found. I don't know if there's a way around it that other people know about, but certainly the way that I have always designed. Cool. Now let's give this a go. Let's retry. Yeah, there you go. So you can make, a really perfect example here. You can make the width bigger, you can make it smaller, you can drag it down as well to like push the width to another direction, which is a really nice added effect. So we'll just add a couple of points here to really help add the detail into the drawing. And it can really like make the whole thing come alive, which is awesome.
Yeah. So it gives it that more kind of illustrative kind of look, like starting small and then ending thicker. Gives you that kind of flow.
And it certainly almost reflects what we've done in the logo, and you can see it in the typeface. You've got that like smoothed out edge where it tapers off and drops down to a smaller width too. So let's go and do these corners as well. And it's such a nice tool to work with because it's so like variable. You can, shift these around, certainly change the size. So I really like this tool. Again, I only found out about this tool not even that long ago. Learned a lot. We're always learning.
That's it. Yeah, every now and then
Always.
I sort of find out, like see someone demoing a tool or see someone using something. I'm like, when did that come out? I look it
Yeah.
up and it was just like 10 years old, but suddenly everyone's
Yeah,
discovered
and
it.
you're like,
Or,
oh,
yeah, something I should have known
there we
about.
go. All right. I might not spend too much longer on this wee guy. I can't remember in the final product whether I gave him a face or not. Like a nose, sorry, not a face. But hey, we'll find out in a minute. So in this case, I actually want his foot to fully reflect the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and just reflect that. And I mean, if I get to a point where I'm looking and I'm feeling like I'm pretty happy with everything, I would certainly be working on this quite a lot longer. It's definitely not final here. I would go ahead and expand all the line work. And then I'd certainly go in and just like make those tiny adjustments, through here. I'd make that adjustment smoother and just making sure everything looks more uniform, really, again. So imagine that we've been working on this, time passes, and then we come down and bam, I did give him a face. I gave him a smile.
You gave him a smile, but not a nose.
But no nose. So that's super cute. And you can see here we've got the details in the E as well with those drips down.
Yeah.
I ended up actually pushing those drips more down his arm and again through the E, obviously there too. So he's looking super cute. Little Mr. Maple. He looks adorable.
It's almost the anime kind of eyes that you've gone with there as well, with
the
whites in the corner. Yeah.
Oh, totally. Let's actually, he looks a little bit different. This guy just actually looks a little bit sad. He looks a bit worried.
He got maple syrup dumped on his head and he's not happy about it, whereas the other guy just like loves maple syrup and he's pumped.
Yeah. Another bit of detailing that I actually added into this final version was the shadowing a bit more in his like legs. So in this case, what I would do is once it's all exported, I would actually go through and I'd add further details here. Just again to like improve on the look, and adding those almost layers can really help that. So we've really transformed into this wee guy, Mr. Maple. So something that I really like to do when I'm pulling together like full brand identities, we're pretty happy with our mascot, we've got our logos, and this is something I've taught my girls as well, is we come through and we start to think about the brand as a whole, because I think it's really important that we're not just designing the logo, then the brand mark, then the color palette. We want to actually do everything almost all at once. So we often work with this 9 grid that I could use the artboards tool for this to arrange them a bit better, but hey.
This is how I do it too. Always slightly uneven.
Perfect,
like
that's cool. And then we actually start to plan out what will this brand and what will these assets look like when they're all brought together. So we'll often, go through. I've actually chosen the color palette for this. So we can certainly spend time choosing the color palette, what's right, what's wrong, and working through some different examples. But I really wanted it to feel fun and bubbly, and just enjoyable to look at. So I've chosen this really kind of contrasting pink and blue, which I love.
I'm beating chat to the question because I know it will come up, but where do you get your colors from? Your work is obviously very colorful. Anyone that's seen your work online, where do you go when thinking about color? Is it just like gut feeling? Is it mood board? Do you use any resources? Go. What is it?
Yeah, so good question. The creative direction part of the process really helps this. So this is everything like, once you're doing your mood boards for your clients, we include color palette direction, and that helps a lot, because obviously you want to make sure your clients are happy with it. And obviously from there you can explore color palette options, but this is always a general direction. But in terms of websites, like Adobe Color is amazing. I love that website. There was another website that I actually just used the other day. think it's called, I literally just searched up color palette and it came up, and I don't know the name of it now. And Pinterest is great. Is always really helpful.
So awesome. Pinterest for like searching for like keywords, or is it and sort of taking color from imagery, or actually just looking up color palettes and seeing what comes up?
Sometimes, you can honestly look up bright color palettes, seeing what comes up, or maybe it's like pink and orange color palettes and seeing what comes up there too. So I'm just starting to pull together like potentially some assets for the brand. Maybe I'm going to make a brand pattern. How will this look when everything's all together? Let's actually turn this into a brand pattern. Where am I going? I've lost my, there we go. Lost my way for a second. All right, cool. Now, certainly I'm rushing through all this stuff just to show you some tips and tricks, but there's a lot more strategy that kind of goes into everything, and like reasons why we do things. Let's go 25. No, that's way too squished. Almost wanted to look like that it was flowing in from the last logo. So that's looking pretty good. Let's go.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a really nice idea when it's a scripted font.
Kind of really carrying it through into the next one.
That's nice, because that's not something you could normally do. That would clash way too much. You'd need some negative space and need to see them differently. But it's kind of a unique pattern that you can do it that way. It's just maple.
Yeah, and I think as well, like something like this would certainly look great in, maybe the waffles are like wrapped in a tissue paper, and that could be on the tissue paper. Yeah, it's a great way to brand things up. Let's actually add some typography in here, shall we? I've got a chosen font. This one's a goodie. It's called Fat Frank. Poor Frank.
Poor Frank.
Poor Frank. So you can see here that I'm kind of like building the whole look of the brand. And again, there would be a lot of trial and error with these fonts, but just in this case here, I know exactly the font that I wanted to pick. So let's actually create like a cool look. Waffles. Now I just want a waffle.
Yeah, actually. I know. I was going to ask you, is this a real place? Because
I wish. Oh no, we've gone to the wrong artboard there.
There was some suggestions in chat from for different color places to go for color swatches and stuff, and it seems like Palette Maker seems to has been mentioned a few times. So
maybe that was the one that I looked at. I know there's one, but honestly, the name's dropped from me. Can't think of the name.
Oh, now you're sharing actual photos of actual delicious looking waffles.
When I was making this yesterday, I was honestly like, I need some waffles. Yeah. That's all I've got to do right now. Get some waffles. And again, like with brands, I love to combine photography, text, the logos, the brand marks, and really layer up the look and feel. Let's just go, delicious. Let's see if I can spell delicious right this time.
Unlike the client. So we've got about five or 6 minutes left, just letting you and chat know if there's any final questions that we got as we're rolling along. I've got one as you're rolling along. Have sort of a script font as the logo. And then does the type of font in the logo help dictate what the campaign font might be, or like what this other complementary font might be? Do you try to, not have a script font because it, does it impact?
Depends. Yeah, and I think it really depends on the look that you're going for. But certainly in this case, did I spell that right, or am I going crazy?
It's hard when it's in capitals.
I'm like, oh my gosh. It really depends on the font and the whole look and feel of the brand. For a brand like this, because we're wanting something playful, I actually ended up, and I'll show you in a minute, bringing in the script font too, because it balanced it out, and you can really highlight words using different types of font. So I'm going to go over here, and you can see it there come into play. And it worked out really nicely. Like it was a good way to highlight a word, kind of make that keyword pop out, So this is where we're heading with the whole brand identity. So you can see pulling it together in this way, even though it's a simple 9 grid, kind of showcases different ways that you can use type, the brand mark, the texture, and pull everything together.
Nice.
Something that me and my team have started doing is we create these things that we've called image frames for brands. And we basically think of ways that images can be displayed for brands. And for a playful brand like this, using something, I'll just move this little guy over here for a second, using something like this style of image frame, it's literally like a frame, can showcase, we're in trim view, can showcase an image in a really different and unique way. So for something like a more luxury brand, we might look at an image frame that certainly, this is a little tip, branding tip that we've kind of started to do. We can certainly create something like this where it's a little bit more luxurious, and we actually supply these in Canva templates, and the client can actually really easily use this and move forward with the image frames for their own social media marketing or their websites. And it just adds like another dimension to your brand in a cool way, fun way.
It's nice. Yeah. And do you often find that they're looking for help with sort of social as well? Like obviously social is a huge part. Like if there was a Waffle House and, I think in the brief they wanted to be famous for their waffles, so you're going to need social media to help carry you along there. Do you go into that as part of like the initial branding process, or is that like an extra like whole kind of deep dive into social strategy and everything like that?
Yeah, it's certainly like for us, like social media management. And as a little interesting point of view, we actually did social media management for it was about a year. And then we offered that to our clients, and we had a contractor who was amazing. But then I just really found that our niche was really this brand identity. And I personally wasn't as invested as what I probably could have been in the way that my passion is solely branding and graphic design.
Yep.
And I found it really difficult as a business owner to grow the social media management side of the company. So I actually decided to cut it and come back to niching in brand identity and graphic design.
Oh, cool.
This is a little interesting tidbit for you there, but we certainly have our contacts that we point people in the direction to.
Yeah. That's super. It's super interesting. You can't do everything, so it's important to kind of. You evolve as a business, right? You evolve as a creator.
Totally.
Constantly changing. But it's hard to do, isn't it? To just sort of say, just not going to do that whole thing anymore. It's not the right thing to do. It's easy to say in theory, but very difficult in practice to kind of just shut it down. Shut that bit
completely.
down.
And and you do have to go through those ways through business, maybe I should offer that and see how it goes. And and then if it doesn't go as planned, then you can easily make a change.
Yeah.
You can see here, like for this example, I started playing around with what if I just reduce the colors and just have the blues and the peaches, peach being quite a waffle color because the color of the waffles are technically beige. But yeah, I still was gravitating towards this really fun palette for a brand like this. What do you think? Do you like this palette? This palette?
Really cool. I almost always paired back, so I personally like the one on the right, but the one in the middle's probably, I'm sure for the client, lots of options are usually good. But I love everything on the right hand side. I think the winner for me is the pattern, the maple going into maple as a script font as a pattern, I think is beautiful.
I love
really
that.
like that. We are going to need to leave it there, actually, Kristy and everybody else. We will be back tomorrow. So we're chatting about Kristy created this logo and everything, branding from scratch. And then tomorrow we'll be getting into kind of rolling out the brand a little bit further. So it's called the Rollout, and I can't wait for the rollout.
Amazing.
I'm going to go try and dream about waffles.
Yeah, we're all going to go find waffles now. I'm going to cook some for dessert.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Kristy. Thank you so much. So many great tips and everything in there. Everyone, we hope that you will join us again, same time, same channel tomorrow. So thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, guys. Bye.
See you later. Bye.